another episode of Big T Rambles. I am Big T. This is another At the Movie segment, a specific segment we're going to call Movies You May Have Never Heard of. Now, of course, just because I call this section Movies You May Have Never Heard of, doesn't mean that I think no one's ever heard of the movies. In fact, a lot of these movies probably have a nice following, some even case a cult following. I'm just looking for movies that didn't do that well at the box office, didn't really turn a profit maybe, but like me, you maybe found them on the streaming service and it's just a nice little gem. Like, hey, I can't believe I've never heard of this movie before. And I want to kind of touch base on those. So that's, again, more for a general public, maybe not have heard of these films. And that's what I'm kind of going for. So these won't be big blockbuster action ones. They'll just be smaller films that I think no one's ever heard of. So the first movie we'll tackle in this segment is a film called All Summer's End. Released in 2018, it's billed as a 2017, and oddly enough, filmed in 2013 in North Carolina, but not released until the summer of 2018, and then to video barely a month after, 2 months after its very small theatrical release. This movie was directed and written by Kyle Wilmosk, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, Kyle, and starring a young Ty Sheridan and Kaitlyn Dever. From what I've been able to find, this is the only film that Kyle directed. He's got some bit spots and other things here, but this is the only one he made it to theaters with. I can only be so lucky one day, so I'm not going to judge the guy. But so first-time director, from what I can tell, one-time film. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't be discussing it with you, so I think Kyle did a good job. Couldn't find much information on how much money this movie made in its limited release or on home video, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever you want to call it. That information didn't seem to be out there, nor could I find how much it cost to make. Now, the Metacritic score off of 5 reviews was 8.4, so they were much more gentle on it than Rotten Tomatoes was. The critic score there down to 20% off of 5 reviews, and only 47 off the audience reviews. There were 100 plus audience reviews, so I think maybe how this film ends maybe influenced that a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. As I said before, the two main stars of this film are Ty Sheridan and Kaitlyn Dever. Ty Sheridan plays Conrad Stevens, who's the protagonist of the story. I'm familiar with Ty from films such as X-Men Age of Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix Saga, which we won't even get into that, where he plays Cyclops in those movies, the popular X-Men character. As well as the movie Ready Player One, which is a great flick. He's the main lead in that too. If you haven't seen that and you love pop culture and so forth, I really, really recommend that. Especially if you're a kid of like the 70s, 80s, 90s. That's just a fantastic movie. And I hear the book's pretty good too. Not gonna lie, I haven't read it. But that's my experience with Ty. It's from those two movies and stuff. He's really good in this film too. I really applaud his effort, and he came across very believable to me. And I'll talk later how this film is very much based on the actors inside for it. Ty was also born in Palestine, Texas, which is always nice to throw a Texas tie in there, which I will do if something in the movie has that, because I'm Texan. The other lead in this film is Kaitlyn Dever, who plays Grace Turner. Many of you may know her from the show Last Man Standing, where she played Tim Allen's daughter, Eve. How I was introduced to her, my favorite character from that show, really great. You may also know Kaitlyn from her time on the series Justified with Timothy Olyphant. She's an amazing young actress. She's had a supporting role in Cameron Diaz's Bad Teacher. She's been in Netflix original movie Unbelievable, which she's really good in that. Great kind of a sci-fi horror mashup called Monsterland on Hulu. Theatrically, she's been in a movie called Booksmart, which I really enjoyed. A great little indie film by Olivia Wilde. On screen, she's also about to appear in a film called Dear Evan Hansen, opposite Ben Platt. You may know him from like the Pitch Perfect movies and a nice little run on Will and Grace, the reboot, not the first one. She plays Grace Turner, the other main lead of this film, and she's excellent in this. I'm a big fan of Kaitlyn, to be honest with you. I think she's a great young actress. So the whole reason I watched this film is because it had her name attached to it. The only notable actor or actress in the movie for me was Annabelle Gish, who was Tracy in Beautiful Girls, which is a favorite film of mine. We'll discuss one day. Check that movie out. But outside of that, I wasn't really familiar with any of the other actors or actresses in this film. But everyone who participated, I thought, did a great job. I thought this was a really, really well-acted film. That's what I really enjoyed most about it, were the actors and actresses and the characters they brought to life. The story is, we'll get into that in a minute. But overall, again, I chose this movie on streaming because of the actors that were in it. And let's do a quick non-spoiler version of what this is about. And I mean quick. I would categorize this as a coming-of-age film, first love, teenage kind of thing. In fact, early on in the film, and I'll give this to you because it's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, which I'll put in the link down below. Grace asks Conrad, what would you say if I told you you were going to be my first love? This is kind of a sign of Grace is a little more aggressive of the character in this relationship between the two people. But that just caught me off guard. I'm like, oh, what a great way to start a movie. Kind of letting the tone right now, letting you know that's what this is about. This is where we're going. Mind you, it takes a turn, which I'll get into later on in the spoiler part, but I thought it was a nice way to start off a film like this. Now, normally Conrad spends his weekends hanging out with his two best friends, but after he meets Grace and spends more time with her, of course, that's that friction when you're not hanging with your buds as much anymore when you're a teenager because you've got interest in a girl. The whole bros before hoes thing, or whatever you want to call that phrase. And of course, that's going to be central to the plot of this story here. The more time Conrad spends with Grace, the more his buddies give him crap, get a little upset about it, and eventually he decides one night he will blow her off to show the guys, hey, I still care about you, I still want to be your friend. On this particular night, it's July 4th, so Grace and her family have gone out to watch fireworks, having invited Conrad, but again, he turned her down to go spend time with his two best friends. So they go around town causing some mischief, stealing stuff off porches, and in one incident causes kind of a tragedy that sets the tone for the rest of the movie. An incident that will push Grace toward Conrad, but rack Conrad with guilt because he feels he has to tell Grace the truth, but he can't. And that's kind of where this movie goes and unfolds, is that relationship between the two of them and Connor's dilemma of telling her the truth, knowing that it may not end up well if he does. So on that recommendation, I suggest you go give this movie a watch. I don't want to give it a star until the end. I will do it now, give it now. I would give it 3.5 out of 5 T's on my scale of 1 to 5 T's, not stars, T's, because big T. It's an enjoyable movie. I don't know if it's something I would watch more than once just because of the storyline, and you'll see once you watch the movie and if you watch my spoiler review here in a second. It's a bittersweet pill, this movie. And it's one of those ones when you kind of look back afterwards and like, that's it? That's it? I'll reference some other movies I think it goes along with in that category. So yeah, All Summer's In. Ty Sheridan, Kaitlyn Denver. You can find it on Hulu right now at the time of this recording. And it's a movie I would recommend that you probably have never heard of. Now, on to the spoilers. Okay, so again, this movie starts with Conrad and Grace, beginning of a relationship, teenage love, the whole 9 yards. And Conrad's two buddies are real happy with the fact that he spends so much time with this girl now. A very aggressive girl, if you ask me, in this movie too. She initiates their first kiss. There's a scene, again, also in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. Well, I am spoiling this, the spoiler section. A scene where the two friends bust into their treehouse, whatever it is, and they find Grace and Conrad making out. And they begin to tease her and tease him about it. When she fires back with something along the lines of, are you two done? If you would like to, we've started something here, I'd like to finish if you would leave. Something of that nature. I'm just quoting the movie, but she's very aggressive about, hey, we're making out, get out of the treehouse, dudes. Of course, she wants to involve him in her life and her family, and on a faithful 4th of July, she invites him to go along with her parents to watch some fireworks, but he declines because he's feeling the pressure from his friends to spend some time with them. So they decide to run around, like, again, as I said earlier, call it that mischief. What they're doing is stealing things off of people's porches. And the boys dare Conrad to steal something off of Grace's porch, which he agrees to do because he knows she's not home. So he goes up there to take a potted plant, and as he's leaving with it, her brother catches him, Eric, who did not go with the family to the 4th of July festivities. A chase ensues. There's a car wreck involving a deer, and Eric is really, really messed up in this car wreck. The boys choose not to call the police, thinking that somebody else will come along to help him because he's still alive, he's still breathing. They opt to not get in trouble. You can tell right away it's not something Conrad wants to do, it tears him up, but he gives them the peer pressure and they leave. Unfortunately, the next morning, Eric dies. Grace is racked with guilt of this because she and Eric had a big fight, and that's why he didn't go with the family to the fireworks display. So she feels totally at fault for everything that's happened to her family and what they're going through, which pushes her closer and closer to Conrad, who of course is racked with guilt because he knows the only reason his brother was out on the road was because he was chasing him and his buddies for stealing her potted plant. The two characters do become closer and closer together, eventually share a sexual encounter, again kind of pushed forward by Grace. The next morning she leaves for church, I believe, and says he can stay because her parents won't be back for a while. They come home early, They catch Conrad in the house, and they find the condom wrapper, kind of tell him to leave. So when Grace gets home and she finds this out, she freaks out, and she goes to this abandoned house that Conrad had once taken her to, where she was at. She wants to run away with him, start their own life together. She goes from totally devoted to him finally confessing that I'm kind of the reason your brother's dead. You know, we were on the porch, he chased us. She immediately flips, disowns him, never wants to see him again. This leads to Conrad eventually confessing to his mother, who explains to him he has to own up to it, and the movie kind of ends. That part of the story ends with him returning the pot to her parents, even though Grace won't speak to him or see him. He apologizes to the parents and kind of begins his own personal healing process, I guess. So the movie ends with older Conrad explaining the story to us, watching his boy play outside and saying that he never ever heard from Grace again, and wherever she was, he hopes she's happy and doing well. But that was his first love, which ended in heartbreak and tragedy, and he never got to see her ever again. And I think that's what I kind of liked about the film, is it gives you, like I said, that bittersweet ending. Kind of in the vein of a movie called Once, which I highly recommend. 500 Days of Summer. It's another movie I want to watch only once because, God, that movie pisses me off. Even La La Land to a degree, where you really want to see things work out. And while the people in the movie do end up happy, it's not in the way that you thought. So spoiler there for those movies too, sorry. If you catch those, just get ready for that bittersweet ending on any of those three movies I just mentioned there. The final last little jab of the movie is when Conrad calls his son to come inside. We find out he named him Eric after Grace's brother, which I guess it's an odd little touch, but it seems to fit. So as I said before, I give this film 3.5 T's out of 5 T's. It's just something I came across on streaming one day, and I only watched because it had Kaitlyn Dever, who I really like a lot as an actress. So that's it. That's it for this quick little review of All Summer Sins. Again, it's a movie you've probably never heard of, but I recommend that you go watch. I really appreciate you taking the time. Be sure to, what they say, like and subscribe, wherever those buttons are. And we'll see you the next time I have another movie that I think you probably haven't seen.